everybody? Welcome back to the Fumble Live. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit subscribe, tap the bell for notifications so you always know when we're going live or when we post a new video. Give this one a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and share it with your friends. Here's the Fumble Squad. We are complete again. We've got Jackie back. I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward. Chris?
It's your boy Chris. You can find me everywhere at CK2K.
What's up, everybody? It's Jackie Ray. Somebody DM'd me and asked me if I'm in Vegas. No, I'm not in Vegas. I'm here with y'all. But you can find me everywhere at JRay the Fanatic.
And it's your girl, Britt Johnson. You guys can follow me on all social media at I am Britt Johnson. Happy Friday, everybody.
Yes.
We made it.
We made it.
I wish I was in Vegas right now. I feel like I could desperately use a vacation at this stage in my quarantine.
Yeah, I just don't know how they came up with Vegas. Like, Vegas?
I don't know. What do you got to look like out there, Jackie?
Oh, maybe my doppelganger. Maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he saw Jackie at a pool party.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully there aren't any pool parties actually happening in Vegas right now. That doesn't seem COVID friendly at all.
There are, yeah.
There are?
It's open. It's open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's outrageous. That's not good. Not good at all.
That's outrageous.
It really is. I mean, I would not go to a pool party right now. That does not sound like that sounds like a COVID cesspool, and I'm just not interested. But let's get into the first news story, you guys. Let's talk about Shaq. He has some thoughts about what the Clippers need to do in order to be a title contending team next season. He feels that they need to trade Paul George in the offseason. He said, quote, they're going to have to get rid of somebody. And when asked to give a name as to who they should give up, he said, come on, bro. So it became pretty clear after that he was talking about Paul George. His co-host argued that since the Clippers gave up the farm for him, it's out of the question. Shaq responded saying, they gave up the farm, but we can change some crops on that mug. And then he also said this, see, Kawhi, I don't want Kawhi to delegate. When Kawhi was with Toronto, he knew he was the man. Everybody knew he was the man. Now you got one guy that thinks he's the man, one guy that is the man, and he thinks that the Clippers need to trade Paul George for two good, solid players, is what he said. So, Britt, do you feel that Shaq is right here? Does Kawhi need to be the only star so that he's not competing with anybody? Does he operate better in that kind of situation?
No, because that's not the situation that happened when he was with the Spurs. And when he was with the Spurs is when he was 2 times Defensive Player of the Year. So I don't think that he doesn't need anybody else. And he's one of those players that has to be the only star on the team, or like the team has to be ran like exactly through him. I think Kawhi goes in there, and we said this earlier this week, he just goes in there and plays and just leads by just how he's playing. He don't really bother nobody, don't really care if he is the star player, he is, some type of role player on the team. He just kind of goes in there and gets in where he fits in. Now, if there is this energy around Paul George that he thinks he is supposed to be the star, which I don't really think that. I don't think Paul George has ever been in a situation where he's been a lone star. Even when he was with the Pacers, he was, developing as a player, and everybody else was kind of coming together as a team in that situation. And so I don't think Paul George is coming in that situation there. And we've only had both guys for 1 year. So I would not, obviously I'm not opposed to us getting rid of any order to win a championship, because I'm connected to the team, not the players. However, I don't really see this even being something that they would even consider, especially since this would be Paul George's last year on his contract anyway. So why not see what he does this final year? Because we did give up everything in the world in order to get him. And I just don't see us getting rid of him at this point.
Right.
So, Chris, we've obviously seen a lot of teams thrive with 2 superstars at the helm. So do you agree or disagree with Shaq's perspective?
The only thing I agree with on Shaq's perspective is, yes, there could be some crops that need to be changed, but that crop is not Paul George. I think that's so wild. I don't see them two as a problem together. I don't think nothing really showed signs to that. I think, if anything, we never really got to see them play well at the same time very often. I think that's the biggest part.
Yeah.
And I don't think that has to do with one hating the other or one trying to outplay the other. I just think it just was a rough year injury-wise and all that when it comes to the team. But I do stand by what I said, that I think that there may need to be some shakeup on the team, but that's more so on the role player side, bringing different other guys to go and fill in the rest of the team. But trading Paul George, I don't get it. If, like Britt said, if there's a deal that makes the most sense and he's a part of it, then cool. But I don't think that Paul George, they shouldn't be seeking out for a trade for Paul George. That makes no sense.
Right.
Jackie, do you have anything that you want to add? I was going to ask you a question that sort of transitions away from the Clippers, but if there's anything that you'd like to say about this Paul George thing, go ahead if you have something.
No, I mean, I agree 100% with Chris and Britt. I don't think that they had a fair, and I've been very anti the whole chemistry as an excuse thing. But the fact of the matter is they do probably need one more year to hone that in and to get that right. So you definitely give them that year, especially. And I just don't think that you change with Ty Lue right now. You don't change this up like that. You got to keep what you got and make no, not that change. So I'm not on that team at all. I think you stick to what you got right now.
And to be fair, I mean, there was only 17 games during this regular season that the Clippers played as a full healthy squad with everybody playing. So they did not, when we did see highlights and they were able to get it done when they needed to get it done in order to get obviously that second seed in the Western Conference. But literally, like, to have a brand new team kind of put together where you're trying to figure out, like, oh, who do we listen to? Who are we supposed to follow? Because all these other guys are used to just grinding it out together. And then we have a whole 4, almost 5 months off after they're just starting to gel together and really get into a groove, and then having to come back into it. And then the Clippers, when they come back into it, we know half the Clippers squad left during the pandemic or during the beginning of the bubble because they had different issues. So, like, even during the bubble, they didn't even get on a right set track in the bubble. And this is a team that's already still a new team together. So I think it was just like too much separation, too much players leaving, too many people thinking, okay, well, I got to pick up here. But now once this guy gets back, what is my role now? What am I supposed to do? And everybody just got really confused. I think it's not really that much of the super chemistry. It's just the confusion on, like, okay, well, what is my role now? Because I don't mind following into that role, but I don't know what it is now because I'm having to do this one game and then I'm having to switch it up another game, and I can't rely on this player this game, but then going to this game, now what do I do here? So I think it's like that issue that literally was honestly like this disaster for the Clippers, like especially once it got to bubble time, because in the regular season, even we saw them, start to gel together. We saw it starting to come together mid-February, like right after All-Star break. And then the bubble, like the COVID happened, and then the bubble happened, and everybody was gone in the bubble. There was players that didn't even have to, or 2 of our star players, bench players, whatever, I guess, didn't even join the bubble until playoffs started, So it was already like a disaster going into it.
Right. So then switching gears, let's talk about the Nets, because right now they're going to have 2 superstars working together for the first time, Kyrie and KD. Do you think that
Chris rolled his eyes because you said Nets.
Yeah. I don't even think he did it. I think it's just like a knee-jerk reaction.
That's why I laughed. I was like, oh, God, did I do that? And everyone saw. My bad.
Well, I didn't even notice that because I was looking into the camera, so all I heard was something.
I didn't even notice.
He didn't know. He didn't know.
Well, okay, let's talk about them really quickly. I'm so sorry, Chris, but I feel like Shaq's
trying to be all straight face now.
I feel like Shaq's perspective can be more accurately applied to a team like the Nets, where these 2 athletes are going to have to be sharing the limelight. So, Jackie, the question that I originally wanted to ask you was, do you think that, with what Shaq said in mind, do you think that the Nets are going to implode, or are they going to be fine this upcoming season?
Okay, let me be specific in this answer, because I definitely think 2 big guys can exist on a team together. It's because I think obviously you play different positions, it's different roles. You can thrive together. So let me be clear on that. These two specific individuals, I don't think are going to thrive together. I do think you can have two superstars on a team. I think KD would be fine with playing with Kyrie if Kyrie was willing to be a Batman. Kyrie is not. He has no desire to be number two. He wants to be either it's going to be two number ones, which we know it can't happen like that, or he's going to have to push his narrative and he's going to pout and cry and not talk to the entire team for a while if he's not the number one. So yes, this is going to implode on that specific team with these two specific guys, but I don't think that has to be the narrative across the board when you're talking about superstars. But this is going to be fun. Yes, it is.
Okay, well, let's get into the second news story. This is all about Michael Jordan. So he did a sit-down interview with Cigar Aficionado and discussed a bunch of different topics, including how NBA players today are always wanting to team up and play with the same few organizations. He said, if a player is able to choose or determine what team he wants to play for, then you're going to have some talent discrepancy in the league. So if everybody wants to go to Chicago, then all the best players are going to be in Chicago. You start to see a little bit of it now where all the stars try to get together on the same team, but I think it's going to hurt the overall league from a competitive standpoint. Only one or two teams will be great and the other 28 will be garbage. So he said, just in fewer words, that super teams hurt the league in the long run. So Chris, do you agree with his perspective on super teams and how they impact the league as a whole?
Oh boy, no, I don't. He sounds more like Charlotte Hornets owner Michael Jordan in this sentence than Michael Jordan that we all know. So it's hard for me to co-sign this. I think he sounds very upset because his Hornets are not one of those teams that people are talking about. Hey, maybe we should go team up over there. And that's what I really gathered more out of this than anything else. The reason why I was hesitant is because at one point I did agree because I hated that some teams when it was getting to the point where we had 4 superstars on teams and stuff. At that point I was just like, yo, come on, like we're gonna lose the fun of the league. But to what MJ said, I completely disagree. It just sounds like Charlotte Hornet owner Michael Jordan was talking. He had an opinion of the fact that Hornets aren't good. So no, I don't agree with him at all.
I think it would be admirable if athletes wanted to, create a competitive balance across the league. But I don't know. I don't know that you can blame. I don't know. Let me get into my question for Jackie because I'm kind of answering it myself. Do you feel that the goal is to assemble the best team possible, regardless of how it's done, or do you think there should be more motivation among the front office and athletes to level the playing field?
That's a good question. I think it depends on who you're talking about. I think when you're talking about like a player like Kyrie, I think him specifically, he wants to go somewhere that needs him. A lot of players want to be needed. So if your franchise isn't doing so well and they can go over there and help get you to that next level, they literally need that. There are guys that are seeking the chip, like KD when he went to the Warriors. That was specifically because he wanted that ring. So let's build this super team so I can get my ring. So I think it just depends on the player and their motivation. I'm not against players playing with where they want to be or who they want to play with, just because we know that my personal thought process is the franchise is going to do whatever they need to do what's best for them. So I think the players should do that as well. Whatever their motivation is, I'm fine with it. But yeah, no, super teams, I don't really have an opinion on it. I think I feel like Chris, like this is, and plus Jordan is old school. Like if he had it his way, he'd have one star on every team, one guy. But then we see people like Damian Lillard, like if he had a few more engine pieces, that system would run flawlessly. Crazy. So you definitely need to have more than one guy. You need those pieces. But when you're talking about, Jordan's like, no, one good dude on every team, and let's see what you do from there.
Including my Hornets. Let me get one.
Right. I need one, just one. I don't think that's logical at all. But I get why he's saying it. I just don't agree with him saying it as per usual when it comes to Jordan for me.
And then similar question for you. Can you blame athletes for wanting to play for title contending teams, or do you think the athletes themselves should be more motivated to create that competitive balance that Michael Jordan is talking about across the league?
No, and I've said this before. This is why free agency exists. This is why players fought for it. And to Chris's point, I don't really think it's necessarily like MJ owner talking separate from player Jordan, because Jordan was his career started at the beginning of the NBA getting free agency.
Right.
So really players didn't really know what to do with it. They didn't know how to exercise that opportunity. And they didn't use it. We obviously didn't see it until recently, in the last 10 to 15 years, where players really started taking their own careers into their own hands, which is why now you see this uproar with fans getting upset and like, oh, this guy's just whatever. Because even though free agency did exist at the beginning of Jordan's career, it had just started. So players weren't really utilizing it like that. So he's not coming from this era of basketball where it's like, oh, well, listen, I'm going to talk to you. We're going to go together. Some players are technically their own agents, in different incidences, or they're really good friends with their agent to where they have that relationship where, oh, let's get the same agent. We're going to kind of talk it out, see where we're going to go. Because at the end of the day, we continue to hear these stories where players have like, oh, well, there was that one time me and so-and-so were in the locker room or we were in the hallway, kind of saw each other, just like we saw with that KD situation when they actually did have that conversation in that tunnel where they said, hey, let's team up. We're going to end up here. And players are really starting to like just capitalize on that freedom that they had. But obviously, once they were first given the freedom, they just didn't really understand what to do with it or what the possibilities were. So I'm always for players making their own decisions in their career, whether it is like, Dame wanting to stay and be in a situation that he is, or whether it's like another player that wants to, go in this super team. What happened in Miami, those guys deciding to come together and do what they did and win 2 down there together. And I think it's very important to understand that, like, when players don't do that, sometimes we end up with stories like DeMar DeRozan, where he decided to stay there and then look what happened. Bradley Beal, same thing. He decided he wanted to stay in that situation, and now look what happened. So I think those kind of moments are really important to understand, because at the end of the day, it's the player's decision, but then the teams have decisions too, unless the players have like a no trade clause. But most players don't get that luxury, But I think it's very good that players are doing whatever they want to do, because we clearly have seen teams will end up doing whatever they want to do at the end too, to benefit their team. So players do what they want to do to benefit their careers.
Right. As they should.
Yeah. I think it would be, like I was saying before, I think it would be admirable if athletes went into it being like, oh, they already have a superstar, so I'll go over here. But I just don't think that it's necessarily realistic for them to.
Why would they do that?
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, 100%.
Because then they can go to the crappy team and get traded from the crappy team and end up somewhere that they really don't want to be.
Right.
Plus, it's about dollars too. There's incentives. The more you win, the more money you can potentially make. I'm not going to go over here to do your franchise a favor. I'm not in this just to do you a favor. I'm trying to get paid as well as win a chip. There's no upside to going to a failing franchise just because you want to be the face. Instagram will make you the face if you try hard enough. That's not
correct.
They're like, the NBA is nothing like the MLB, like I was talking about earlier this week, where the MLB does not have a cap. So you can have 20 players that are literally all getting 20 million each, if that's what the franchise wants to pay. But the NBA has a salary cap. Yes, there's a soft cap there, so it allows, wiggle room for players that you already have on to stay there and match whatever contract they can get somewhere else. But like, there's cap in the NBA, so technically you can't have a million all-stars on one team unless those all-stars want to come together and say, hey, let's all take some pay cuts so we can win a championship, which is what we saw the Warriors do. And that's the reason why they decided to take a pay cut so they could win a championship. But you can go to another team and have, well, this one star wants to be here because he wants to cash out and he doesn't really care about a championship. So players are going to make that decision, and it is fair, because it's fair in the sense that these players decided to take a salary cut because they wanted to win a championship. And then this player is going to go to this middle of nowhere team and be the only star there and probably never win a championship, but he's getting the most money. So that's the fairness, and it's just whatever is important to the player.
Right. Exactly. All right, you guys. Well, that wraps up Need to Know News. So, Chris, I'm handing it over to you.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Post Up. quarantine edition, and I have a confession to make. And I think just by this confession, you're gonna already know what this number one is. Probably don't even have to talk. You probably know what the number one is going to be. But I have a confession to make. Now, I feel like everybody has that one thing that makes them laugh, regardless of how bad it may be. My thing is whenever there's somebody who is running or walking, and then they trip and they try everything in their power to fight from hitting the floor. And I feel like that distance from when they tripped from when they actually fall, I tears instantly. And we saw that in the sports world yesterday when Daniel Jones, the New York Giants leading rusher, broke off for what could have been I'm trying so hard to get through it. Well, broke off for what could have been the play of his young career. He is in his second year of his career. This could have been the play of his career. This could have been it. This was his moment to shine. But there was a sniper in the stands, and this happened. I can't look. Look at him. Look at the strides. Look at the strides.
Everyone but himself. The NFC East, ladies and gentlemen.
Manti Te'o's girlfriend.
Oh my God! She said Manti Te'o's girlfriend. Yo, I felt so bad. I'm like, yo, the Giants need something like this. Like, give the Giants this. Like, let them have this. That was a great play call by Jason Garrett, Daniel Jones out there. They needed this moment. Let them have this. And of course, it just ended in the most Giants way possible.
I wish there was a mic in his helmet at that moment, because he was like,
I could not have handled that. I would not have been able to handle that. You're like, no. And then the grunt was like, when he saw it, like, no, I would not have been able to be on this show talking about that if that happened. Oh my God, I watched that one too many times yesterday, so I had to get out of my system so I would not be here crying for about 10 more minutes. But he had some reactions. It was so funny to the point that his own teammates were laughing at him. Like, this was a touchdown. So normally you'd be upset with something like this happens. Nah, Giants teammates are like, yeah, that sounds about right. And they were even laughing at the moment. Look at them. They are laughing. Look at them. Like, that is laugh. That's not just like, oh, Daniel. That's a serious laugh. His own. I'm about to say it be own sometimes, but even Patrick Mahomes came in and he poked a little fun at himself while still laughing at Daniel Jones when he put up this tweet saying, I mean, I can't even say anything because I would never be able to run that far either. But you still laughing at him though. You still laughing at him, Patrick. Don't act like you're not. I don't care who you think you are. You still laughing at him, and that's fine. But yeah, oh my gosh, that had me dying. All I heard was Chris Berman in the back of my head, rumbling, stumbling, fumbling. Like, that's all I heard while he was going down. Oh man. Whew. But while that catastrophe,
Chris, I have something I need you to do as the editor extraordinaire that you are.
Yes.
There was one video where I was standing on my box in the Fumble studio, and I started to fall backward out of nowhere. And you got the video of Lance Stevenson blowing.
Yes, I still have it. Yeah.
Stevenson blow Daniel Jones down.
Someone
That'd be great.
No, someone already to it. I knew I know. Should I put this in post up? Nah. I already talked about it long enough. Somebody already did it, and they had the picture of him blowing them. Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah. Oh my God. We need to get that video of Britt. I have it still too. We gonna get that video up. I still have that video.
If you guys follow me on Instagram, I'll repost it on my Instagram today. The video that Chris did of me falling over thanks to Lance Stevenson blowing me down in the studio.
Because there was nothing there. All right, I gotta move on from this.
I'm like, whoa, and I fall backwards, just off my box.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I handled this so much better than I thought it would.
It was like 7 in the morning.
You would think so if you saw the clip. You would think so, but no, she wasn't.
I'm gonna repost it today.
I handled myself good with this. I'm proud of myself because I really thought I was not going to be able to get through it. But I did because you don't understand. Like, it could be children. If I see a child, I don't care if they're little. I don't care if they're adorable. If they trip and fall and they try their hardest to not go down the floor, I'm crying laughing. It's a weakness. I don't know why. I don't know. Satan. I blame Satan. Anyways, moving on. we're going while that catastrophe was going on in Philly. That whole nightmare was going on in Philly, which ultimately ended up in a victory for the Philadelphia Eagles. We had another one going on where the final presidential debate was going on yesterday, where there were a lot of quotable moments, and I don't mean that in a positive way. There was a lot of quotable moments, especially by Mr. Agent Orange, who is in office right now, who had some very, very, very quotable moments that I'm not going to talk about right now because we don't have enough time on this show. But I'll tell you what, LeBron James saw this as well as probably like the rest of us, and he had a reaction to it. I think it was pretty much on track. He added the clown emoji over Mr. Trump's head, and he added, "Please vote," also with the "at more than a vote" there. So LeBron James keeping it simple, nice, sweet to the point. I think he made his point, and his point got across. But yeah, I'm gonna leave that one as it is. But yeah, please.
I could barely tell
vote.
that was an emoji. I thought that was the real thing.
It looked real, right? That's the same, man. LeBron James out there.
I thought that was the guy.
But sticking with LeBron James, it would not be a post-up if I talk lightly about LeBron James and have to bring up somebody in the world hating on LeBron James. So Jackie Ray, buckle up. We're talking about Daniel Jones. If we heard inside of his helmet, we're about to be hearing Jackie Ray with a lot of sighs and upset notions after I talk about this. But yeah, we have an anonymous agent, that's anonymous NBA agent to be specific, who feels a type of way about LeBron James, Rich Paul, and Clutch Sports, and he feels like Clutch Sports is actually hurting more athletes than helping athletes. Yeah. And he went in and had a lot to say about the what is going on behind the scenes with with Clutch Sports. Now, as you see right there, he says,
"Oh God,
yeah. I'm actually going to get into that quote if we can get to the next picture. I'm not going to read the entire thing. I'm not doing that to y'all because he just goes on and on and on. It gets very conspiracy theorist kind of thing, but he has some kind of points. But I do want to read this part from that first page where he said, "Now I know it's a facade that it's Rich Paul, but it's really LeBron who recruits for Rich Paul." Okay, so it's almost like they're trying to control AAU at the NBA level. This is my AAU team, and they've carried that to the highest level. And because of his power and his prowess, people, the young players, are seduced by LeBron James in the same way that people were seduced by Michael Jordan with David Falk. He also goes on to talk about a similar situation that was going on with Kobe Bryant and Rob Pelinka because with their relationship and their closeness, Rob Pelinka was able to get some huge stars like James Harden and other names as well. So because he brings up those comparisons, that makes his argument on Clutch Sports so much weaker in my opinion. It just showed. I'm gonna get to that in a second. It just wait. But when he brought in Michael Jordan, brought in Kobe Bryant, and their examples, I'm just like, you just defeated your whole argument even if you thought you had one. But yeah. So he continued to go on. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but he did go on to say that Clutch was mismanaging a lot of their athletes, and that he thinks that other agents should come out anonymous like him, so they can put pressure on the union to investigate what Clutch Sports is doing behind the scenes. He also mentioned, like you saw in that tweet, that it's illegal for players to represent, or it's illegal for a player to represent talent, specifically in California. We know LeBron James plays for Los Angeles and the Lakers. Now, like I said, he brought in some analogies with Michael Jordan and David Falk. He brought in Kobe Bryant and Rob Pelinka, and now he's talking about LeBron James and Rich Paul. So do you think that this dude is just bitter because he's losing the opportunity of getting some of these big free agents and big clients? Or do you think that he might actually have a point in his argument? Now, I know you're expecting me to go to Jackie Ray. I am going to go to you, but I'm going to go to Britt Johnson first. I want to hear your side. Do you think that he had a point, or do you think he's just a bitter agent that is missing out on a lot of top talent to guys like Rich Paul and Clutch Sports?
I think he's bitter, for sure, because if you're an agent, go out there and do your job and get who you get, and you're mad because somebody else has better clients than you do. Like, that doesn't even, come on, my guy, come on. 100%. And then to do like a whole rant conspiracy thing about it, because I actually did read it. It literally is like, well, is this conspiracy theorists? Like, what is happening here? Like, it was just so extra, and to have to explain so much to yourself why you don't have the client base that 100%. They have is so sad. Honestly, it's sad.
Yeah, and it's so whack at the same time, which was going to lead me to my question for you, Jack. It's so whack because some of the top name agents are not agents anymore. For CAA, who had the number one agent in the game, Leon Rose, he is now the president of the Knicks. So, boom, there's a bunch of names that are out there you can go pick up. The same Rob Pelinka you brought up, boom, he's been the president, or excuse the vice president of the Lakers for the last 2 seasons. Boom, names for you to pick up right there. Clutch is Clutch is picking up great names like Ben Simmons. You know, got Lonzo, they got LeBron, Anthony Davis, all these names. But there are tons of talent out there that you're missing out on. You're solely blaming on Clutch Sports. So for that, I'm coming to you, Jackie Ray, who is probably signed by Clutch Sports herself. Do you think that this? But yeah, no, the same question for Britt. Like, obviously, like I think we can all be in agreement that this dude is bitter, but at the same time, do you think that he's just trying to raise some sort of mutiny with other agents that are missing out on these athletes to start up some kind of whack? I don't know, some kind of whack case against Clutch Sports. Like he said, he's trying to get the union to review this whole thing. Do you think that he's going to be successful in all that, or do you think that he's just going to go down as the anonymous bitter agent for forever?
Well, he should go down as the anonymous bitter agent forever. But we also know that there was this whole effort to try to block Rich because he didn't have a degree, you know what I mean? And as if that was a thing. So, and we know why that was. We can play dumb if we want to, but please go back and visit, you know, all the videos we did about that. And we know that there's a very specific reason why that happened. But what I really think is funny about his little I'm failing and it has to be someone else's fault rant is he uses the word relationship over and over and over and over again. And this specific, when you're talking about agents, it's specifically your relationship with other people. Like you just said, Rob Pelinka, the president of these are relationships. And when you have these relationships with people, that's how you can cultivate these situations to your benefit. This guy is clearly not likable. That's why he can't build these relationships that he needs to be successful in his career. Perhaps therapy, perhaps try to be more friendly, but you need to work on your ability to build relationships because just because you're failing to do that, don't hate the next guy that's likable and has all these relationships. Do better on your own.
Yeah.
Networking.
For real, that's what I'm saying. Like, at first, I'm like, okay, maybe he might have a case, but then he just kept talking and talking. I'm like, no, I'm stupid for even believing this guy. Yeah,
dug a hole for himself.
Everyone, right? Every person you just named, like Jackie just said, they all had relationships with these people. And here's the thing: even if you want to pull the whole like, oh, LeBron James seduced players to come to the. There are so many players that LeBron James has come in contact with that are still not a part of Clutch Sports.
Right.
Sure, you can use Lonzo and Ben Simmons as examples because they both have openly said that they're huge LeBron James fans. Fine. Those are probably your only examples. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't know. The whole thing's whack. Good luck to Mr. Anonymous Agent.
He tried it.
Yeah. What's up, Britt?
Can I add one little thing? I used to work for Impact Sports Agent, which mostly deals with football, but has a couple like NBA or baseball people too. And the job of like, once you have athletes with you, then it's like, okay, we got to take them out to the clubs, have whatever. Any new prospects that we're trying to bring in that are like, you know, in college, like just looking for an agency, looking for whatever, we get our big guys, like the top guys that are with the agency to then come and like, oh, we're going to the club together. We're turning up. Right. Giving like guys like the lifestyle, the parties, the whatever. And that's what every agent who has any sense does. Like, that's what you have to do. You have to be like, listen, this is like the great, like, I don't know if you guys have ever watched Ballers. They do the same thing in that. Like, you literally have to cater to these people and make them whatever. So that's LeBron's doing what he's supposed to be doing. Like, that's what agents, or that's what players do when they're with an agent, is try to help their agent get more other people to join the agency. Like, that's been the game for forever.
Yep. So we just, in a lot of words, just told you are bad at your job, sir, and stop being so goddamn bitter. And on that note, we're moving off of him, and we're moving on to some questionable singing. Well, if you guys watch The Masked Singer like myself and Jackie Ray, you can check off whatchamacallit, Donovan Mitchell as whatchamacallit, because he's definitely not it. Because we know he's an NBA player, but we know it's not Donovan Mitchell, because Donovan Mitchell posted a video of himself singing, and to be real, the singing is not great, but I'm going to give him credit because he does in fact hit the note. It's shaky, but the pitch is there and he hits the note. So Donovan Mitchell, bless the panel's ears right now. Go ahead. He's there. He's there.
He is not there.
Look. Look, it might have been masked a little bit by the actual song, but he was there. He was there. He was there. Look, it might. What's Devin?
Oh, sorry. This is like me in the car.
You will know. I feel like Devin's sad now, and I was like, Devin still has the vocals. Okay, you're still
Devin. Yeah, don't feel intimidated. Don't feel intimidated. You're good. You're good. Don't feel intimidated.
Bust out a note so we remember.
You
no. Go.
I think we missed Devin singing.
No, guys, I gotta save it. I told you all I need to get this voice costs money, so I'm gonna have to get some extra cash if you guys want me to sing.
I ain't even mad at it.
But
look,
I will say, when I am in the car, maybe I'll sing the intro to Jackie's segment again if we get enough response in the chat, you guys. But
there you go.
What I wanted to say was when I'm in the car and I'm singing along and I have the music up really loud, I feel like this is how I sound, where I think I sound really, really good because you can hear the other person singing.
You hear the other person.
Yep. I relate. This is where I get all my confidence with my vocals, you guys.
I'm giving Spider some credit. But okay, so he asked, there's a tweet that asked, get from a 1 to 10, what are you rating him holding that note? Now he eventually tweeted, he said, okay, look, that note, he said, it wasn't, what did he say? I forgot the tweet. There it is. He said, top 2, not a 2. So he's saying that it's definitely not a 2 out of 10, but what are you guys rating him? I'm telling you, he was there. Tell me, are you guys rating him top 10, 1 out of 10? I'm giving him a 5 because he maintained. That's all I'm going to give him, though.
I say 8.
I'm giving him an 8 too. I love it's how you sell it for me, you know, like it's how you sell it.
I respect that. I respect that.
You know, put a little auto tune on that, and it's good. It's gold.
Okay. It was the worst performance ever for me.
Oh my gosh! So
I give him a solid 2. I'll give him a 2.
Oh, he did. He said he's not a 2 though. Dang, you're that funny. She gave you 2, man.
I'll give him a 3 for the.
There you go. For that. Yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah, give him his credit. Give him his credit. No, I'm with Britt on this one, man. He sold it for me, but also the other part of singing is also being able to carry the note. So that's why he gets the 5 out of 10 because he sold it. So you get the 5, but you ain't getting other points because the note wasn't great. Well, go ahead, Spider. Go ahead, man. I love the confidence. Good, right. We need the music.
Absolutely dreadful.
Oh my goodness! But I'll tell you something that was better than Donovan Mitchell singing, and it is this dude's luck. I would say, I'm gonna say luck because this guy who is betting is a sport that I can't get into, and I know you guys are gonna make your jokes like, yeah, because we see your predictions ain't the greatest, Chris. You ain't got the greatest predictions, so yeah, you should stay away from that.
Why do I gotta talk like that?
That's all you guys are collective. Because that's how I hear you guys in my mind, like, oh, there goes Chris again making another bet. That's how I hear it. I'm like, oh, there they go, haters, all haters. That's my hater voice. But seriously, betting I couldn't do it, and whether it be betting for teams, but it's more for me and like this guy. What he did right here are the parlay bets, and if you don't know what parlay bet is, you get a series of things to bet on, and if you get one of those things wrong, you lose all your money. But if you get them all right, you're gonna come in with some nice chunk of change, and that's what my guy did right here. And he made first of all, to me, maybe I wouldn't be strong enough to bet my $100 like this guy did, but these parlay bets, they didn't seem that difficult. But nonetheless, this guy used his last $100 on these parlay bets, and he came out with $46,000. Here's his reaction, and you can look and you can see what they were. Oh well, it's kind of blurry.
Oh my God! Are you kidding me?
See.
Oh my God!
Okay, so what they were, yeah, he's just excited about it, and he eventually gets it. But what they were was he bet on Sterling Shepard, where anytime he scored a touchdown, then he gets that one. Boom, Sterling Shepard got a touchdown. Boston Scott, anytime he scored a touchdown, he got his touchdown in that game. Now here's the one to me, I'm like, yo, you bet you gamble for sure. Carson Wentz goes over 247.5 for that game. Carson Wentz, he in fact did do that. I mean, it is the Giants defense, but still Carson Wentz has been showing that it doesn't matter what the defense is. He hasn't been playing that great this year. And then also he had the Philadelphia Eagles winning the game and Carson Wentz throwing a touchdown. So that's why everything else was checked off except for the Eagles winning the game until that last moment. You saw it was 21-22. He got that, and this man bagged $46,000 off of $100 bill. So shout out to this guy.
Wow.
You sound like
you missed the end though.
What's his at? I'm kidding.
Right.
What's his right for real?
The end of it was where I was like, oh, he better than me because it's his $100 that he bet, and he goes, "Oh my god!" And then he runs into the room. He must have dropped the phone and had it on his chest. And he goes, "We just won 46." Who the hell is we? I put the $100 down. I won $46,000.
I saw if you also saw in that video, there was a little baby girl's tricycle on the floor, so he got to have a family. So I think he was talking we as the family. Okay. But yeah, you're correct. You're right.
That's better. Never mind.
I saw the little baby bike, so he got to have a family.
Who is we? My $100. I won.
But yeah, man, that's crazy. I could.
That is so
more power to him. Yeah, that's powerful right there. So then we're gonna move into these last three, and this one right here is I feel how you want to feel. There's the argument and the conversation about whether kids should be playing football at the age that they be playing. Well, this one right here now, when you look at it, the tackle isn't terrible, but it's the sound. Here's the play. Daniel Jones going. See, he went out quarterback going for the run.
Oh, so you can't hear the sound.
The sound. Yeah, that's the thing because we heard it on our phone, and it's loud. It's loud. When you look at the tackle, it's like, oh, it's a clean tackle. He didn't do anything too crazy, but the sound is like. Yeah, we get one more time.
There it goes.
This is why little kids shouldn't play tackle. That's too much.
I don't like
that's too much.
Right. Yeah. There should be. Yeah.
That was a clean tackle, though. That was
That's what I'm saying. It was not a bad tackle.
Right around the waist. That was a good tackle.
What the?
Yes, but he's a baby.
That's true too.
Yeah.
His bones haven't even developed all the way, and that bone right there is never going to develop right. Whatever he got hit on is never going to develop right. That's not my baby. That's not what we doing. That's what we not going to do. My baby ain't going to be out there getting hit like that.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Nope.
I'm like, all right, son, bring it on. So LeBron James, how you feel about basketball? Let's go back to basketball.
Bowling. You know, you can make a ton of money bowling.
Right.
Tiger Woods.
Right. There you go. Look, golf. Yes. But yeah, speaking of LeBron James, we're going back to the Lakers. We saw Anthony Davis out here donning one of the more legendary jackets when it comes to championships, and that is the one that you remember Kobe Bryant and Shaq wearing. Anthony Davis got his hand on one. Now, here's the funny thing about this thing. This is supposed to be a brand deal for Michelob Ultra, but I wouldn't even know because I'm there looking at the jacket. I'm like, yo, Anthony Davis got one of those jackets because that's from the 2000 championship. I'm looking to see. I don't think it says. Yes, it's not an updated one. It's this. I think it's like the same. It's a replica of the same 2000 jacket. I'm like, what beer? Because look at those. These things are so far. I'm not even a Laker fan, but when you see these things are so dope. These things are crazy. And Anthony Davis got his hands on one. So I mean, I guess go buy Michelob Ultra if you want to go and do that. But that jacket was dope. That's why I paid more attention to. So Anthony Davis, you probably should have worn something a little less eye-catching to take away from your brand deal, my guy. But last but not least, sticking with the Lakers, this moment I felt, now I had his brother and we traded him to the Clippers, and I'm glad we didn't trade him to the Lakers because my feelings would have been hurt if he had gotten that championship with the Lakers. But Markieff Morris was then eventually picked up by the Los Angeles Lakers. And Markieff, if you know his resume and the teams, he's had a good career, but unfortunately the teams he played for, they have not been the greatest. So you could feel this moment when the Lakers welcomed him to the squad, and he realized like, yo, I'm actually on a good team for us. This is crazy. Like you feel that from Markieff Morris's reaction here in this video right here. Watch Markieff's face. He's so happy. Look at him.
You don't even know what
Look at him.
Aww,
look at him and the way he's standing in the back, like
taking it all in.
yeah.
So
I felt that. I felt that. I was like, yeah. He's like, you mean I'm not the Warriors anymore or the Wizards anymore? This is the Lakers. Oh my God, this is great. But I felt that. I felt all of that.
I still be feeling like they switched. Remember when they were both on Phoenix Sun and one left, and then there was like this whole thing about them like switching and one playing for the other. That looked like 100%. That kind of moment to me right there, where like he's like, this ain't really my team. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing.
And then
let's go.
And even as soon as this year too, because there was a period because Marcus Morris was coming from the Knicks, averaging 20 points, and as soon as he got traded to the Clippers, all of a sudden he acted like he didn't know how to play basketball anymore. But then Marquise was not having a great season, was playing well for the Lakers. I was like, there's no way. No, they switched. Marcus is over there playing for the Lakers. They switched. There's no way. They switched it up. There's no way. You cannot convince me otherwise. Anyway,
it wouldn't be their first time, I'm sure. Twins do that all the time.
It can't be. I can't wait for their podcast when they retire.
I think they're facts.
I think they're facts. Me too. I cannot wait for the stories when they retire.
Tattoos everywhere? No. They've been doing this since like high
They
school.
Finally got different hairstyles now, though, so they're trying to throw us off. But other than that, I'm convinced. I'm convinced. That's
all right. Well, you guys, thanks, Chris. As promised, getting the vocals ready. Jackie, tell us. I haven't done this in a while. I'm feeling kind of nervous. Well, not gonna do
yes. I feel like my lip sync was better at that point. I'm good with that. All right, you guys. So I'm just going to run down this really quick because I know a lot of you guys gave Danny Green some issues, didn't want him to get his ring or whatever. Don't forget Quinn Cook. He only played 44 games in the regular season and started in one. He only played 6 games in the playoffs for a total of 4 minutes. And he posted this picture to his Instagram, pretty excited about his win, and then the caption says 2-time NBA championship Lake Show, we back, and then it says RIP Dad, which I was actually okay with that. I thought that was a cool picture. And then of course we know J.R. Smith didn't contribute anything, but I don't care because his sideline presence was very helpful, I think. He also posted a picture. His wasn't too celebratory. It was just more of this picture saying Lakers championship, which again, I loved it. Jared Dudley is similar to Quinn Cook. He only played 45 games in the regular season, and then 9 in the playoff games for a total of 3.4 minutes. But I actually love this picture. This is one of my favorite ones because you can see the emotion in the caption. He says, I envision myself playing on the same team as this man, that is LeBron James, for 13 years, waiting for the right opportunity. This picture sums up my dream. So that's beautiful to me. You've always wanted to play with LeBron. It took you 13 years to do it, and you win the championship. I think this is beautiful. But a lot of these guys are getting flack because they're saying that they didn't really contribute. So this is who I thought Shaq was talking about. We also remember Dwight Howard. We talked about his little thing on the show where he was like, always follow your dreams. And I thought that that's who Shaq was talking about when he threw some shade, but I think I might be wrong because then I remember this tweet from back in 2000, and I think that was 2018, when Dwight was like, hey, you want to have a roast battle? And Shaq was like, I only battle champions, little man. You ain't in my division. You in Charles Barkley division. Focus on getting that ring, brother. Shade. So I think, okay, he got that ring now. But then here comes Shaq. I'm going to remind you what that Dwight video was and then listen to what Shaq has to say about guys posting on Instagram after they win their championship. It is quite telling.
Everybody out there.
Do we have...
Don't ever give up on your dreams. You can fucking do it. I swear, just keep fighting. I swear to God, don't ever give up on yourself, man.
I know what I don't like as a player, though.
What's that?
So a lot of players on their little Instagram bragging like they were the reason they got the championship. I ain't gonna say no names.
There was a lot of that going on.
I ain't gonna say no names.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
Sit your ass down. You didn't do nothing. Stop it.
But I already know who you're talking about.
You know it too.
I know who I'm talking about. Stop it.
Mm-hmm. If you couldn't tell, because Shaq always sounds like he has marbles in his mouth when he talks, but basically he was saying if you didn't contribute, then, sit your behind down somewhere. Don't say anything. We all think that he's talking about Dwight. I think this is inappropriate. I think this is Shaq just throwing throwing shade. I just real quick want to go to Britt and see what her thoughts on this with this shade from Shaquille O'Neal.
You know, I've been talking about I've been delivered from petty. Robert said I'm petty adjacent now.
That's why I wanted
this was just too much. I don't like that. And then I just thought back to the championships that Shaq won, and then like all the players that played with him that now are like, oh, so did he not think we did anything or whatever? Did he not think we contributed? It's just like that energy is not good. I don't like that energy. This is a basketball team or team, whether if you're just coming in for 2 minutes so I could get a catch my breath and get a drink of water so I could go back out there and do what I need to do, that's helping the team, you know. So I didn't like that at all. I thought that was, you know, the older he gets, I feel like he keeps just throwing more and more shade, and there's more and more things I end up not liking about Shaq. I don't like that.
Yeah, me too. He's not my fan favorite. So yeah, what we not going to do is give Shaq any credit. Also, what we not going to do is pretend that this next one is not another hash mark into why LeBron is a GOAT for me. We talk about social media all the time. I'm not a fan of it. I think it just kind of reinforces negativity, or, you know, makes you think you have to keep up with the Joneses. I've always applauded LeBron and his ability to shut out the haters, because there is a lot of them, especially on social media. I think for me, one of the things that I think is weird is this negativity that Paul George is getting, because of course we know he told us about his, you know, mental issues that he was having, and we applauded him for that for like 10 seconds. And then when he didn't perform, then it was right back to being mad and kind of overlooking that as the same thing that I kind of felt with Dak when he said what he had to say about his mental issue. Yeah, we applauded him, but I'm like, man, if the Cowboys don't do well, then this is going to just add to it, especially on social media, which I'm just not a big fan of. But Michael Jordan is kind of acknowledging that too as well. He's kind of acknowledging that the way that social media is right now, it's a huge thing, and it impacts these athletes' lives in a way that he does not necessarily know if he would have been able to deal with. He was, again, talking to the cigar aficionado, and he said, quote, he said, Tiger played at his peak somewhere toward the end of my career. Then what changed from that time frame to now is social media. Twitter and all those types of things has invaded the personalities and personal time of the individual to the point where people have been able to utilize it to their financial gains and things of that nature. For someone like myself, and this is what Tiger deals with, is that I don't know if I could have survived this Twitter time where you don't have the privacy that you would want, and what seems to be very innocent can always be misinterpreted. This is probably the only thing in the history of my life that I've actually agreed with Michael Jordan on. It's one of the reasons why people tell me all the time my social media is horrible, because I don't really post a lot of stuff, and I don't post any personal stuff because I just don't want people in my business like that. But when you're an athlete, you really don't have that luxury, because paparazzi is everywhere. People are going to assume things, and it's just too much negativity. So Chris, my question is for you. With all the things that Michael Jordan had to go through, his gambling, the affairs, the maybe suspension, maybe not suspension, the death of his father, and whether or not that was tied to whatever, because now it's just a blurb, right? But if social media was around, that would have blown up way out of proportion. Do you think we would still be talking about Michael Jordan the same way now if social media had gotten a hold of all those things back then? I know it's speculation, but what do you think?
That's such a hard thing to answer, because I feel like we have to also remember, even though it's not quite to the level of Twitter, it was all that was talked about at that time. And I don't think we will necessarily remember that, but I think what The Last Dance did was a good job of showing that was the conversation when you talked about anything when it came to sports. So it got to the point where they were talking about the stuff that was going on behind the scenes for him more than his basketball until he was winning championships. So but I can't. I do believe that in a Twitter world that it would be worse. Like, it's hard for me to sit here and think that he went through it pretty bad. He did go through it bad, but yeah, 100%. If it was in the Twitter world, it would definitely been worse. I think he would have had some great publicists and probably had some good people to keep him out of a lot of those scenarios. But some of those things you can't avoid, like you said, you know, losing his father and the gambling stuff. That's going to be coming up from people who are in the damn opportunists who are at the damn casinos or that took the tickets and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it would definitely be worse, but I still think he went through it pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, he went through it bad, but and it was headlines everywhere. People saw it. But the thing is it was a headline, and then when he played the game, you would talk about the game. Versus now, it was a headline, and then he played the game. If he would have sneezed wrong, Twitter would have had a hold of it. If he would have looked at somebody crazy, Twitter would have got, oh, like, see, this is why this is happening. They would have blown everything out of proportion. It would have been probably exponentially worse. So I don't know. I'm glad he admitted that, though, because that, I think what these athletes go through is a lot.
I would never thought. Yeah. I thought I didn't. And of all people, I never thought Michael Jordan. He probably would have known it, but I don't think he would have ever admitted. So that surprised me. I'm glad he did too. Yeah, 100%.
Yep. So what we're not going to do is overlook this moment where I agree with Michael Jordan, because wow. But that's all I got. So now it is time for Britt's takes.
Britt's takes.
All right, guys. I had my moment where I agreed with LeBron. Jackie had her moment where she just agreed with MJ, but there's going to be one guy that I don't think I will ever agree with, and that is Tom Brady. Tom Brady finally addressed why he shook Aaron Rodgers' hand and did not shake Nick Foles' hand. You guys remember a couple weeks ago, I talked about, after the Bears beat the Bucks, I think it was 20-19 or whatever it was. Tom Brady runs off the field and Nick Foles is just looking around like, oh, I was waiting to shake your hand. I showed you guys the video. Then a week later, and during that time in the middle, there was a moment where everyone's like, oh, well, he didn't shake his hand because COVID and yada, yada. He's trying to be safe. Then a week later, he comes out and he plays against the Packers and wins the game, and then immediately runs out and shakes Aaron Rodgers' hand. So everybody then knew for a fact that this man is just a sore loser, and everybody was calling him out, including me on this show. During Britt's take, I called him out. Well, he finally has decided to address this situation and what happened. In a couple tweets, there were some reporters that were in a room on Thursday when he was doing his interviews or whatever, and one of them said, QB Tom Brady says of not shaking hands with quarterback Nick Foles, I don't think it's anything in particular, except I have great admiration for Nick, and he's to a hell of a start. Says he knows Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers better. And then in a second tweet, another reporter said that Tom Brady said, I think Nick Foles is a hell of a player, Super Bowl champ. Tom Brady said, while adding, there was nothing intentional about not shaking Foles' hand after the Bears game. He said sometimes he just runs off the field right away, depending on whether he has a relationship with opponents. I'm not buying this at all. Earlier, Chris showed a video of Pop Warner football. What happens after every single Pop Warner game? They put all the little kids in a line at the 50-yard line on their sides, and guess what? Everybody walks through and gives each other high fives and shakes hands. These are little babies doing that. All players have been taught since the beginning of time, after a game is over, whether you win or lose, you go and you shake everybody's hand. Obviously, the older they got, it's not, okay, you're not going in a line and shaking everybody's hand, but it is definitely a unspoken rule that everybody goes onto the football field after, and they, give high fives and shake hands. We even started seeing in more recent years, players exchanging jerseys, showing respect for each other or whatnot. And Tom Brady knows better than this. He was being a bad sport or having bad sportsmanship in this moment. He did not just, sometimes if I don't really know the quarterback, I'm just not going to shake his hand. What? Nick Foles, my guy, because he beat you a couple years ago in the Super Bowl. You didn't shake his hand then, and now you're playing against him again, and you don't shake his hands again. Don't say just because you know Drew Brees better and you know Aaron Rodgers better that you're shaking your hand and you're not shaking Nick Foles' hand because you don't really know the guy. Like, that is like, that's worse than even what I thought. Like, you should have said something like, you shouldn't have said anything at all, really. This was a say less moment if you were going to say something like that, because I don't think anybody buys that. I'm going to actually go to the panel really quick, and I want y'all to tell me, are you guys buying his excuse, i.e. his explanation? Devin, do you think that he just did not shake Nick Foles' hand because he doesn't really know him like that? Or do you think it was because he was being a sore loser?
He was being a sore loser. It's so obvious, especially because it's not the first time it's happened. So I don't buy this excuse at all. I think it's ridiculous. And I think that if he doesn't want people talking about it, or if he doesn't want this negative backlash, just step up and have good sportsmanship. It's not that hard.
Right. Chris, what do you think? And are you surprised that he didn't, in this moment, now that he is speaking about it, not apologize for not shaking Nick Foles' hand? He never even apologized for it.
No, I'm not surprised about that second part. But yeah, the fact that this grown man came here and gave us this answer, expecting us to just take it. So does he? I need to see. Does he shake rookie quarterbacks' hands? I'm pretty sure I've seen him shake quite a few rookie quarterbacks' hands.
Yeah, he does.
So he knows them pretty well, though. So that's what he's getting at. He knows the rookies really well. First time in the league ever, and he's been watching the games forever. This is such a whack. I can't believe he came out and actually said that thing that we're going to believe that. Whack. No, no. He's disrespectful for sure.
And Jack, to answer I know you're going to answer the question, the first one, but to add to that, do you think that he was actually throwing shade when he even said about Nick Foles, when he said, oh yeah, he's had a hell of a start, like he's like a brand new quarterback in the league and he doesn't know who he is? Do you think he was trying to throw shade in that moment too?
Absolutely, because I mean, I just don't have anything good to say about this man since he left his pregnant wife or pregnant girlfriend for some supermodel, and I feel like she's sitting at home right now, like, why are any of y'all surprised? He's not a good dude, you know what I mean? But I just don't have anything good to say about it, because you know what? Even if that was true, even to the whole Brady fans that are going to co-sign on this narrative, guess what? If you'd have shook Nick Foles' hands the first time he beat you, you'd know him a little bit better, so you could shake his hand this time.
Ah!
Yes.
That's fact.
Yes. That is fact. All day.
No, can't stand this dude.
For sure. Yeah. I think we could probably agree across the board on this panel. We could have moments where we could agree with people that we don't necessarily like me and Jackie have done in the past with LeBron or MJ or whatever the case is. But Tom Brady just continues to, he's never getting, he doesn't have one star in my book. Like, oh, wow, Tom Brady's a decent guy. I just never see it. It's just so sad. And hello, you've been in the league now for 20 years. This is I think this season is his 21st season. And you're still acting like this. Do people not ever grow out of their pettiness? And
and you know what makes me really mad about this? Do you remember when that lady wrote that open letter to Cam Newton because she said he was being unsportsmanlike because he went in the end zone and did his little dance or whatever? Oh, and the whole league kind of co-signed on that and said, you got to set examples for kids. I ain't seen nary an open letter to Tom Brady for showing this bad sportsmanship that kids around the world are watching. What? Don't get me started on this man.
Tom. Come on. I'm low-key, I'm rooting for Nick Foles just because of the fact that I can't stand Tom Brady,
Exactly.
I mean, the Bears are doing it right now, so I would so much even though they're both in the NFC as my Cowboys and obviously your guys' Saints, I would much like to see the Bears in the NFC than see the Bucks
Buccaneers. Oh, I'd much rather see the Bears do anything over the Bucks, for sure.
Yep.
For sure.
Absolutely.
All right, you guys. Well, let's wrap up our show for the day and get our weekend started. Speaking of the weekend, we have Weekend Zone coming out tomorrow, so make sure you guys check that out. Subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below, wear a mask and wash your hands, be a good person, and we'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone. See you next week. Have a good weekend.
Ooh, yeah. That was for Donovan Mitchell, y'all.